Minister, I'd like to ask you again, I know you've been asked this many times, but I'd like to ask you again to really lay out in detail what your plans are to bring Ibrahim Halawa, an Irish citizen, home from his detention. It's now well over 1,000 days where this young man has been detained, and many people, including former prisoners from other countries, are openly asking the question: is the Irish government doing enough for its citizen Ibrahim to get him home? It looks to us not nearly enough compared to what is possible.
I understand I was going to take 36 and 59 together.
36 and 59, 30.
Although Deputy Kenny is
30, 36
not here, I can proceed. I can proceed just to reply to Deputy Smith. Which is number 30. Yeah, it was proposed that I take 36 and 59. But in relation to number 30, I and my government colleagues are extremely disappointed at the recent news of a further delay in the trial of this citizen. The latest delay is a particular source of concern and frustration for the citizen and his family, and we fully share their sense of frustration. It's our understanding that at the latest hearing of this case on the 29th of June, the court ordered a review of the video evidence by a technical committee, with the court due to reconvene in early October. My own concerns and that of the government about this delay have been conveyed directly to the Egyptian government. I met with the Ambassador of Egypt last Thursday. I asked that she convey to her authorities in Cairo my disappointment, indeed my frustration, at this further postponement of the trial. My officials are seeking more detail about these latest developments and their potential impact on the trial. I met with the citizen's father and sister last week in advance of the hearing to reaffirm our continued commitment to securing his release. A further meeting between the family and my officials took place on Friday, where the latest developments were reviewed and options for future action, including a new application under Presidential Decree 140, were actively considered. The government will continue to bring all of its influence to bear on the citizens' behalf through all appropriate channels. The Taoiseach and I stand ready to have further contacts with our Egyptian counterparts. Regardless of our difficulties with the trial now underway, the reality is that the Irish government cannot interfere with a trial in a foreign country. What we can do, and what we are working very hard to do, is to provide all consular care possible to the citizen while he is in prison, and to work towards his release at the earliest possible time.
Well, it's just not good enough, Minister. It really is just not good enough. I just want to quote to you Peter Grest, who spent 400 days in prison and was at one stage Ibrahim's cellmate. And the way the Al Jazeera journalist, the Australian Al Jazeera journalist puts it, he says, he is just simply not getting the same level of support as I did. He said, I wonder, is it because my name is Peter, not Ibrahim? In other words, that he was considered white and normal and English-speaking as against Muslim with a different name, and that internationally and globally he received more respect and had more people batting for him. Ibrahim has been detained far longer than is absolutely necessary and denied any opportunity to defend himself in court. I want to also mention that you yourself tweeted and welcomed the release of Joshua Malloy, a constituent of yours, after he was captured and put in jail in Iraq for a very short period of time. And you welcomed Joshua Malloy's release, and certainly it was welcome that that young man got out, despite the fact that he had actually fought and was in combat, rather than somebody as innocent as Ibrahim, who's now 1,000 days in, and there's no evidence that there's any evidence of wrongdoing against him.
Thank you. Could I say, in relation to the gentleman Peter Grest, as named by the deputy, of course I welcome his release, and of course I would welcome any advice or guidance he or indeed Deputy Smith might proffer in my direction as to how best this case might be advanced. And I wish to assure her that my door is open, as indeed it is to any member of the House who may have observations, advice or guidance. But it's important to note that each and every case is different. We have considered the cases, as mentioned, in some detail. We have consulted extensively on them. But my focus remains on the citizen and his case, which is before the court. We have consulted extensively, including with states and governments that have had citizens in similar circumstances. But any decision as to the release of this citizen will ultimately be taken by the Egyptian authorities. I travelled to Cairo the week before, within the last few weeks. I met face-to-face with my colleague Foreign Minister Shukri. This was the fourth occasion upon which I had a face-to-face meeting with him, and I wish to assure the House that both myself and the Taoiseach are doing everything possible in order to ensure a satisfactory outcome. But if Deputy Smith or any other deputy has advice or guidance, I would be very happy to hear from them.
Thank you, Minister. Deputy Brid Smith.
I do have some advice and guidance. I think it's just not good enough. I think there needs to be a statement and a call from the Taoiseach directly to the Egyptian authorities. I think there needs to be a presidential decree that that there should be a demand for his release. I also think we should recall the Egyptian ambassador, just as the Italian authorities have done after a young student disappeared and was later found murdered on the streets of Cairo. But it was an immediate recall. They are now looking at banning some importations and trade dealings with Cairo. And I think our representatives in the European Union should object strongly when arms deals such as were recently concluded between France and Egypt go ahead without any objection. This is an appallingly brutal regime with a huge record on breaching human rights and indeed where prisoners have no rights. And should anything happen, Ibrahim, should he not be released, should he be tortured or found damaged in prison, then be it on your head, Minister, and be it on the head of this government, because there isn't enough being done to secure his release.
Final reply.
Can I assure the House that the Government formally supported an application made by the legal team on behalf of Ibrahim Halawa in 2015 for his return to Ireland under Presidential Decree 140, as referred to by the Deputy. This was done by way of formal diplomatic note sent by our embassy in Cairo to the Egyptian Ministry of Foreign Affairs on the 15th of February 2015. In consultation with the family and their legal representatives, the Government intends to lend its full support to a further request for release under Presidential Decree Law 140, and we will continue to work in support of these efforts.
Thank you, Minister. Number 31.